Hello, stamping friends. This is Angie here with Too Cool Stamping. We're here for another live class. This time we're going to be featuring a absolutely gorgeous suite called Splendid Day. It's in the mini catalog that's currently going on now through January 3rd or 4th, or I can't remember when, but anyway, it's only available for a short time. This is a perfect time to get it before it sells out, because as we get closer to the end of the mini catalog, things start selling out and they may not be coming back after that. So you'll definitely want to get your hands on this awesome collection. The absolute best part of the collection, the designer series paper. It's gorgeous, stunning. It's so amazing. I hated to cut it up, but we're going to, because we're going to make these beautiful cards. So we're going to do a 5-card class today. We will have a class kit available like we normally do. You can get your hands on a free 5-card class kit just by placing your minimum $40 order with me at toocoolstamping.com, clicking on the Shop Now link, and making sure that you use that host code. It's very important that you use the host code. I can no longer add host codes for you if you forget. So you can rectify that by calling Stampin Up yourself if you forget to put your host code in. But it's very important, because that way I know that you are wanting this particular class. So I'll remind you of that again as we go along. Before we get started with the actual class, I wanted to just also remind you that we have just a little time left before the end of the month, and that awesome starter kit promotion that's happening right now. You guys, if you love stamping and you are passionate about it and you have lots of supplies on your wish list that you love, then you will definitely want to take advantage of this current starter kit special. You spend $99, and for that amount plus tax, free shipping, you can select up to $155 worth of product. Pay $99, get $155 worth of product. That's an amazing, amazing deal. So you'll definitely want to get your hands on that. It's only till the end of the month. The best part is, not only do you get this awesome amount of products to add to your collection, but every order after that is then discounted by 20% because you're a member of the Stampin' Up family and my Too Cool team. So there's lots of perks that go along with that too. You can check out all the details when you go to toocoolstamping.com and click on the Why Join My Team link on the right-hand side, and that will have all the list of benefits. One of the biggest benefits that I wanted to point out that you might not be aware of, if you like my class kits and you usually place a minimum order to get one of the free class kits, as a part of my team, I just offer that for a flat fee of $15. So you can buy your own supplies at your own discount and then just purchase the class kit from me. So you don't have to miss out on the class kits, and you don't have to place an order with me and not get that special discount that you will receive being part of the Stampin' Up team. So if you have any questions, just message me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Remember, this special goes through the end of October only, so don't miss out. If you have a big wish list, if you place a lot of orders, if you place more than a $100 order in a month, then man, this is a no-brainer for you. If you're just starting stamping and you're trying to build your collection, this is a great way to get a discount on all your products that you would like to get. So take advantage of it. Remember, there's no obligation to sell. Just be a happy discount shopper. That's the best part. So again, if you have any questions, you just message me and I will be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, let's turn the camera around and see what Splendid Day is all about. So hang on. Okay. All right, let's get everything, sorry about my hand there, get everything centered up here. That's my favorite part. I know it's your favorite part too, a little roller coaster ride. Okay, so at the top of your screen here, you'll see the special host code that you'll need if you're going to be purchasing from me to try to get that free class kit. You'll want to put in the host code. It's on the checkout page right at the top column, right above the price. So you'll see a little box. You add CQGC PQ64. That's going to be good until what is the date? It's November 3rd, I believe, is the cutoff date. And then everything is going to be mailed out to you around November 9th. So, and that's for the Splendid Day 5-card kit. Let's show you what is in this awesome collection. I know there's kind of a glare because there's beautiful paper with beautiful foils. So let's see what we're starting with. First, the Splendid Thoughts stamp set. So pretty, beautiful imagery, and also great for layering. I love the sentiments, very elegant, and cute little bee there too. So you have some two-step stamping, lots of fun with layering. And then to go along with the layering, you have the Splendid Stems dies. And these have not only outline dies for your stamped images here, but there's also some other layering, intricate die cut foliage that you can put on your cards as well. It just makes for some really beautiful embellishments and layering and collage that you can do with your projects. So then my favorite part, of course, is this gorgeous designer series paper. And this video is not going to do it justice at all. I mean, not at all. The cool part is the one side, you're going to have beautiful foils. They're all foils, except for the one is kind of a satiny finish. And then the other side is going to be more of just a plain pattern that goes along with a coordinating pattern. But I love papers that have lots of different options, and these do, and you don't even know which side to use because they're all so beautiful. They also come in, they coordinate with beautiful pastel colors. So you have Fresh Freesia is the first one here. Then Sahara Sand. This one is Pool Party. And this one is a copper color. The last two, you have your Petal Pink and your Soft Seafoam. And these two I love because you can just cut right down the center and then cut pieces, and they make for a whole card front or just pieces of the card front. But it's just like ready to go with a beautiful area at the top that's blank that you can just put a little sentiment in. So I love that. And then the back colors, let me show you this one a little bit closer. It has a little bee on it. And I know you can't see the color very well, but this is that Soft Seafoam. So really pretty, subtle colors. Then you flip them over and you have beautiful colors on the back. Love these coordinating patterns. So this is kind of a Calypso Coral. You got your Pool Party, Sahara Sand. It's kind of a linen, soft. It's kind of like the subtle embossing folder that we used to have. The Fresh Freesia, some beautiful coordinating foliage there. This is the Petal Pink, and then the Soft Seafoam, some more leaves there. So just beautiful patterns that coordinate so well together. And I love just those soft, subtle pastels that look so pretty. So that is the Splendid Day Designer Series paper. If you don't get anything else, get this, because you can use this, just add a sentiment to it, and it's a beautiful card. All right, one more thing from that collection, which, by the way, I was mentioning that you can find it in the mini catalog. It's on page 64 and 65. There's some really pretty sample cards here, and then you can see the whole collection over here. Did I bring this? Yes, the Soft Seafoam seam binding ribbon. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's like satiny almost. Really shimmery, pretty. It goes so well with the paper. And then the last part are the open leaf trinkets. Now, we're not using any of these on the cards because they are a little bit thick for a card, just to give you an idea. I would imagine, let's see, it doesn't say how thick they are, but I'm gonna say maybe a 1/16 of an inch. And they just add a little bit of weight and bulk that I did not want to add to our cards, but they would be beautiful on like a treat box or a party favor or like a wedding type of a favor. They would look gorgeous tied with that ribbon, just really, really pretty. And they are, I would say they're kind of a gold color. Yeah, it does say gold. So I was thinking they might be a copper because there's a copper foil to the pattern for the designer series paper, but they are gold. So just to let you know, but they are beautiful. If you like if you like doing treat boxes and things like that, they would be perfect. Okay, let me get my stuff together here. We're going to start with the first card. Again, we're going to do 5 different cards, and I'll have a Too Cool version of each one. And we're going to start with Fresh Freesia as our card base. All of these cards are going to have a traditional card base, and I'm going to, let's move this over here so we're kind of more in the center. Traditional card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So this is Fresh Freesia. And we're going to start right out with some of our designer series paper. Now, because it's the foil, you really don't need a lot of it. It really, you know, sometimes it might be a little overwhelming to add too much to it. So I just have a 3/4 inch by 5.5 inch strip, and then another panel here, which is the back side. But I love this pattern on the back side as well. And this is a 2 by 5.5. So let's get that on the card front. And actually, if you are doing the class, don't put this down yet, because the first thing you want to do, I love when I start right off with a mistake. Not really a mistake, but it's always good if you're going to do stamping on paper, on designer series paper, to do it before you add it to the card, which you should do. So, whoops, before you adhere it to your card front, do a little stamping right on it just to make sure. Now I'm going to just see how straight this is. It looks like it's pretty straight, so I can add it right to the bottom here. Let's celebrate. So you want to add that before you get started. I hate that I have just a little bit of overlap there. Pardon me while I have an OCD. I'm just going to cut that little bit off. I like it to be nice and flush. So there is our first strip, and then we're just going to add that foil piece right next to it. So I'll add a little bit of seal on that as well. And we'll put that right up next to the other piece. Beautiful. Next, we're going to do some stamping. I've already die cut a piece of basic white using the deckled edge, deckled rectangle dies, which I love. If you don't have those, this is a great must-have to add to your collection. I'm going to start by stamping the outline image of these stems in Blackberry Bliss. And this is going to be just a really simple, not a whole lot of layering. I'm just going to stamp this once and then stamp it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Hey, that doesn't look good at all. Whoops. Do you ever do that? Oh, fail, fail, fail. Okay, so that's not supposed to happen, but I'll show you what the finished card's supposed to look like when we get there. All right, next we have Fresh Freesia. Do you ever do that? Man, that just really, that's awful. All right. This is the filler piece, the 2-step stamping piece. And the thing you'll want to notice about these imagery is that the filler does not perfectly, not in the least bit, fill in the image. So it's not lined up specific to it. If you have kind of a thing where you want the filler to fill in exactly, this is not, this 2-step stamping is not going to be for you, but you can color. So if you don't like the look of it, just kind of messy look, kind of messy fill, then you can just color with Stampin' markers, or Stampin' blends would look really great. So I just did a little bit of the stamping over the top. Again, it's not going to match up perfectly. That's no big deal. That's the way it's designed. All right, next I have a piece here of 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. And I'm gonna use my seal to put that on here. like so. And then before we adhere that, I have a piece of fresh Freesia open weave ribbon that I'm going to tie around. I still can't believe I dropped that whole inked up stamp on the card front. That just makes my heart hurt. All right, trim up the edges here, just a little faux bow double knot. And then we'll move it over to the edge. And then you can pop this up onto the front like so. Let me just show you what my finished card looks like, the one that isn't completely inked up and messed up. And that is this one right here. So all I did was pop this up with some dimensionals. And then I finished by adding some iridescent rhinestones. You know what? The iridescent rhinestones, we're using that for every card in this class because that beautiful iridescence has all of the different colors that are featured in the paper. It has a little bit of purple to it. It's got a little bit of light blue, some oranginess to it. It just matches everything. So I thought we're just going to use that on every one. It gives a lot of sparkle and shine, and then it matches the undertones of any of the foils from the Splendid Day Designer Series paper. So this is our first card. Let me show you my Too Cool version. I did Pool Party for this one. I used the back side of the Pool Party Designer Series paper there, and then I used Sahara Sand for my foil piece. So I used Sahara Sand, actually I think I used Gray Granite for the back mat for this one. Stamped that other stem. There's basically two stems that you use, either this one or this one. So I used that one for the more rounded version for this. You can see again, those don't completely line up. They're just adding a little bit of color and fun to it. And then we added the Pool Party sheer ribbon. And again, those rhinestones, they just match everything. So those are our two cool versions of the first card. And this is the one that will be in your card kit. Okay, let's try the second card and see if we can keep the ink off of the main card. This is Sahara Sand for our card base. Next we have the Petal Pink Splendid Day paper. And we're going to use just a portion of it. This is a 3-inch piece by 5.5. And then I have a Petal Pink 3 1/8 inch piece by 5.5. If you wanted to, when you get the class, if the foil is a little too much, use the back side. It's all going to look really pretty. So we're going to just layer this. And then before we layer that completely on there, like we did the other one, we're going to use the petal. Actually, this isn't Petal Pink. It's the Pale Papaya. But the Pale Papaya almost, it has just enough shine and oranginess to it, peachiness to it, that it looks like the Petal Pink. So I felt like I could get away with not being exactly the same color. Still coordinates pretty well. So again, the Pale Papaya open weave ribbon. So just like we did on the first card, we're doing a lot of this like similar elements on these cards just to make it easy to put together. So this is going to go on to this card base, but before we do, we're going to add a little bit of fun to the side here. And let me use my Simply Chamois, my very well loved, whoops, I can't keep a hold of that. I'm going to keep dropping it. So here's my Simply Chamois. Let's make sure I, whoops, get all of the color off of it. All right, that's pretty good. Now let's try Sahara Sand. And we're just going to add a little bit of fun to the edge here. So just a little bit of pattern. They can overlap a little bit if you want. All right, there we go. Then we'll add, I don't know if that camera could pick that up. It's kind of very subtle. Can you see that? Then we'll add this over the top. If you want to do a darker color, you could probably do Gray Granite. That would show up a little bit better. but I like the subtle look of this. All right, we're going to add this flush to the top and bottom. And then let's make a little sentiment layer. I have a piece of basic white that I have cut out of the Stylish Shapes. That's another one that if you don't have that stamp or that die set, this is a really, really must-have with great circle shapes, square shapes, and banners, and all with that faux stitching on the edges. Really, really pretty. All right, so this time we're going to use a different sentiment with Sahara Sand. And we're going to stamp that right on the top. Again, if you wanted that a little bit darker, you could do the gray granite. And then I'm going to use that same color and just add a little bit of leaves around the sentiment. And then we'll fill that in with some petal pink. We need to clean that up a little bit, our filler. Here's our petal pink ink. And I want this to be really light. Let me stamp off just to make sure. Yeah, I don't want it to be too orangey. So I'm going to do a stamp off. So it just has a really nice subtle look to it. All right, and then before we put that on, I'm going to add a couple of die cuts. This comes from the Splendid Stems dies. And I just made 2 of the same shapes with the basic white, and I'm going to add those over here behind it just to give it a little bit of texture. It's very similar to the pattern that's on the piece already. And I'm going to use some liquid glue for that. And just a couple little dabs on the biggest areas. You don't really have to do, if you want to do some on the very tips, you can, but I'm going to let those be free. I don't want a whole lot of glue. One thing you'll want to note is when you're working with this foil, if you put down something that has glue on it, you're going to get a really smudgy, non-foil look to it. So make sure that wherever you put it, that's where you want it. And you don't want a lot of glue to be seeping out because it's going to smudge it and make it a matte look and not foil. So be sure to use a very light touch when you're adding your liquid glue. And once you put it down, just hold it there for just a few seconds till it takes shape there, till it sticks really nice and well. And then we'll put that over the top with some dimensionals. Woo! I'm like fumble fingers today. What else will I mess up? What else will I drop? Okay, we'll add that there. And then of course we're going to use a few more of the Iridescent Rhinestones. Let me get this ink out of the way before that goes flying. All right, these beautiful rhinestones, I just love them so much. We're going to put those, since some of them, there's 3 sizes. There's the large, the medium, and then the small. The large are a little bit big, a little bit thick, so I'm going to put those down here. So they're not going to be, if you put them on top of your layer that's already popped up, then you might have a little more trouble, like in the male. But if you just have that on the first layer, it should be pretty good. You might want to put another piece of cardboard, chipboard, or cardstock on the top of that before you put it through the mail, and that will help it go through. So there is my second card. And let me show you the Too Cool version. This one uses the soft sea foam that is in the same style where it has the nice just plain foil at the top and then the imagery at the bottom. This time I lined it with black and put that soft sea foam ribbon around it. And the die cuts, I used different shapes this time so they kind of matched the stems that were on this particular foil, and I did them in black to match that background. My circle is the largest circle from the Stylish Shapes this time, and of course I used black for the outline and then soft sea foam for the filler color, and then black for the sentiment and a little bit of patterning. Don't forget to add that on the side. So really pretty. Also use the iridescent gems, and this will be the one that is in your kit. All right. Next up, my favorite card. I posted about this one today on my blog, toocoolstamping.com, and you'll be able to see all the details of all of the cards. I eventually blog about all of the cards from the class on my blog, so you can check that out at toocoolstamping.com. Within the next week or so, I'll have all of those up. But this first one is up already. I love this one. One of the things I noted was that even though we have several soft pastel shades that the papers match, coordinate with perfectly, then we also have some that coordinate pretty perfectly. And one of those is the mint macaron. It's not listed as the colors that it matches, but it really does match beautifully with the pool party paper. So I'll show you that in a minute. I did a background that was 4 by 5 1/4, and I used that stitched greenery die. I don't know if you can see that, but that it's just a faux stitching that, let me show you the die. It says it's a die, but it's more like it's a texture that goes on your paper, and it's all faux stitching. So you get this beautiful leaf pattern in a faux stitch all over the background. Absolutely beautiful, and I thought it looked really, really pretty and coordinated very well with this set. So that's what's on the back here, and I'm gonna add that. Before I do that, let me add, I have a little strip here of soft sea foam. It's 4 by 1 1/2. Let's add that first to the bottom. And then we'll add this to our card front. And we're just going to keep adding some layers here. All right, next we have, oh, did I not even cut it? Oh, for crying out loud. I don't see it here. Ah. Well, we're gonna do, this is the paper that we're using, but for some reason I did not cut one. So I'm going to cut one on the fly here, and we're gonna pretend like it's the right size. So the size is supposed to be 2 1/2. Whoops, I didn't cut it very straight. 2 1/2 by 4, which I didn't make it long enough. If I just have my Stampin' trimmer right here, this will be good enough. So it's supposed to be 2 1/2 by 4, and it's the pool party version of the paper. And as you can see, you have pool party definitely on the back. That doesn't even look like the mint macaron, although it kind of does. I guess it does kind of match, but I really thought that this front has a satiny texture to it, and it does kind of look like the mint macaron, a little bit greener than pool party. So I wanted to use that as my background, so I'm going to add that. Can't believe I didn't cut one of those patterns. Oh, see, when you don't do this every week like I was, you get a little out of commission there. Okay, next we have several die cuts here. So I have one that, this is with the Splendid dies, a mint macaron shape. I have one that is a basic white shape, and then I'm going to stamp a shape. So let's do that. This time we're going to use this particular stem, And we'll use Soft Succulent as the background, as the outline. And then, as I mentioned before, that filler doesn't fit perfectly, but I do have a little tip that might help you feel a little bit like it's fitting a little bit better. So here's the shape. And as you can see, if you put it right over, it doesn't really match. But I took these 3 little splotches right there. And if you look, it kind of has a triangular 3 splotch thing right there. So I'm going to add right over the top of that. Here's another little 3 splotch grouping right here. So I'm going to add right over the top of that. And this 4th one goes off of it. So the 4th one's cleared on here. It's not messing with the one I already did. And then I have a 2 right there, which kind of is like the 2 right here. So I added that. And this top and bottom are nowhere near that stem. So now when I die cut it, it's going to have a lot more color on it. And you're not going to see these ones that are outliers. See what I did there? So I love how that worked. I thought that worked out really well. All right, so now let's do a little bit of layering. We're going to do one right here. We're going to add this white one with the multi-purpose glue. Again, light-handed. Just some dots on some of the, I am going to put some on the tips a little bit, just so that they stick a little bit better, because it is kind of a big piece. And this one's going to go over here. So we'll just hold that in place for a moment. A few dots on this particular, this is a mint macaron. I don't know if I mentioned that, mint macaron color. This one I just put a little bit less on, not any glue on the edges, on the top. I'm going to add that right on the top, over the top of that in the center. And then this time we're going to use that fun shape in the dies right here. It's like a little pot that I did in basic white. And I'm going to add a sentiment in Soft Succulent. Sending hugs. We're going to add that with some dimensionals. Just a couple on there. You can put more on there if you want to. That goes right down here. And then I'm going to finish up with a little bow. I made a little bow with that beautiful soft seafoam seam binding. We'll add that with a glue dot. Now, I did find that I was having some trouble with this staying on when I put it on the foil part, or this, it's kind of a satiny finish, because it was so glossy. It wasn't staying on as well just with the glue dot. You might want to use some liquid glue there. It might, because the satin look of the, or satin finish of the seam binding is pretty smooth too, you might have to hold it there for quite a long time to make sure that it stays there. But that would be one way to make sure that it's not going to fall off. We're going to finish up with some rhinestones like we do. And this time we're just going to use all little. I'm going to put one down here, one up here, and one over here. All right, so there is our third card. I love that satiny finish of that particular design of the foil, of the designer series paper. Okay, our Too Cool version. Also, I showed this on my blog as well. This is Blackberry Bliss for your card base. Fresh Freesia, the Fresh Freesia foil. I had the white, just like I did here. I did a different die cut for the middle, which is in Blackberry Bliss. And then my stem here is outlined Blackberry Bliss, and then stamped with the solids of the Fresh Freesia. Blackberry Bliss again with the stamping, with the sentiment, and then the fresh Freesia open weave ribbon, and some iridescent rhinestones. So that is our Too Cool version. This is the one that's going to be in your kit. All right, number 4. I love this one. Starts with white. And remember, when you use a white, you're going to want to use thick white. It's a little bit sturdier than the basic white standard one. This one's going to be a horizontal. I'm going to start with this piece of Pool Party. This is 5.5 by 3. And if you can see, I have a beautiful texture on there. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's something eucalyptus. I think it's Elegant Eucalyptus. It's a double mini embossing folder. I don't know if you can see the texture on that, but it looks just like the stems. The light just isn't coming through on that. Looks just like the stems from this particular set. So I thought it would be perfect. Hopefully you can see that with the light. Anyway, looks awesome. So I'm going to add that first. Actually, let me add the foil first. I have one piece here of 1 inch by 5.5 inches of the Sahara Sand foil Splendid Day paper. So again, you don't need much, just a little bit of an accent with these foils. Otherwise, it might get a little too overwhelming. We'll add that right to the bottom with just a hint of white showing. And then we'll do the same with the top. We'll put that up to the foil and then a hint of white showing at the top. And then I'm going to add just a strip of seal right along the bottom of that Pool Party. And we're going to add the Sahara Sand ribbon from that combo pack. Let me show you that. This is from the mini flyer as well. It's the Old Olive and Sahara Sand Twill Ribbon Combo Pack. So it has it's some pretty fall colors, but you can use it for a lot of other things too. So I love that. I just put that on with a strip of seal. We're going to cut the edges off here. Just trim them off flush. And there's our card base. Now let's pretty it up. I'm going to stamp my outline. Again, this time, let me clean it up real quick with my chamois. And I'm going to stamp it with Memento Black ink. I'm going to do the same with the other stem as well. So we'll clean that up a little bit. Ink it up with some Memento. And then finally, I'm going to ink up that cute little bee as well. And then let's do some coloring this time. I mentioned before, if you didn't like how the fill didn't completely fill, that's, you know, not everybody's cup of tea. But if you want to do some coloring, these images are perfect for that. So let's do, for this one, we're going to use Crumb Cake Light. And I'm just using the brush tip end. And I'm going to do just a fast job here. I like the brush tip because it lays the color down really quickly. I'm noticing that my end, the tip of my brush tip, is getting a little bit weak and frayed, which happens over time. You know, these are not markers for all time. You will have to eventually, if you use it a lot, you might have to replace it. But I've had this for quite a long time. If you paint kind of like a paintbrush with a very light touch, you'll keep that nib nice and firm for a long time. So now I'm adding the dark crumb cake for the underside here. And then if you wanted to add a little bit more shading, just a little bit of the light crumb cake again. I'm just adding a little bit more color. Not even blending it, just adding a little more color. So there is the one. Then I'm going to do the other one in Pool Party. So I'm going to start again with a light color. Another tip. I've noticed that sometimes when I do this stamping and then immediately go into the Stampin' Blends and coloring, I get a little bit of bleeding from the Memento ink. That's just something that happens because of the surface of the basic white paper, and you can avoid that if you just let your ink, your black Memento ink, dry a little bit longer. So, you know, maybe stamp it, then go ahead with another part of your card and then come back to it. And that should work out really well. If you just let it dry a little bit longer than you might normally have in the past, that's going to be the key. So I'm just adding a little bit of dark Pool Party. Oh, and then let's do this little bee. And I just want to do him in the same color scheme just so that he matches. So I'll use light Pool Party for the wings and some light crumb cake for the bee body. So just basic. So there are all of our pieces, and then you can use the die cuts, the Splendid dies, to cut all of those out, and I've already done that. So I have my pieces here ready to go. If I can pick them up, there's my little bee. And before we do that, I want to do another little sentiment on the little basic white pot. And for that one, we're going to do Let's Celebrate. I'm going to clean this up and use use the Memento Black again. Fits right in there. All right, now I also have, along with our stamped, I also have one little white die cut to go along with it. So let's put our little pot down first, and then we'll add to it. So you saw the other card that we had a pot. We did the stems first, and then we added the pot over the top. You could do it that way on either one of these cards, or you can do what I did. I put 2 dimensionals here, and I'm going to put that over the top. I'm going to leave a little bit, about a finger width room over here. It comes up just above the ribbon a little bit, so it's right over the ribbon. Let me even it out a little bit. Now we're just going to kind of tuck everything behind. We're going to start with this die cut, again with little tiny dabs of our liquid multi-purpose glue. We'll add that to the side. We're going to stick that right down in here on the side. Hold that in place for a moment. This one's going to come out the other direction. Again, you can use the liquid glue if you want. I'm just using some seal because it's a little bit faster. Stick that stem right in there. Have it coming out the side. And then we'll finish up with this one in dimensionals. So this one you might need some mini dimensionals. Let's see if I can find, oh, here's some. So those mini dimensionals are perfect for this. They fit right in there. If you don't have mini dimensionals, remember you can always use the edge of your dimensionals. You can just cut them to whatever size you need, and those work just like the mini dimensionals. So we'll take the backings off. And, whoops, one more. And then we'll add that right to the center. So you're gonna stick that stem right underneath there, tuck it underneath. It's getting kind of hung up on the ribbon. There we go. And that'll pop up perfectly. We're gonna add that little bee. He needs a little mini dimensional too. He's going to be coming in over here. And then again, we're going to add some iridescent rhinestones. Anywhere you want to. There we go. So there is our 4th card. I love that one. I think that's one of my favorites. I have so many favorites. There's so many different styles. So I love that one. And then let's look at our Too Cool version. That one I did in Petal Pink. And I used some Petal Pink ribbon, which I love. I used Petal Pink for the background, and then this one is in Calypso Coral. The bee is in Petal Pink and Calypso Coral. Yeah, and I love the way that one turned out as well. You can see how the iridescent rhinestones, they look orangey here on the orange card, on the peachy card, and they pick up all of the pool party color too. So they look great on everything. I love it. So we'll have all the parts and pieces for this one in your card kit. All right, one more for the class, and this one's a little bit different, just to show you that you don't have to go all pastel for this particular collection, even though the foils are pastel. This one is starting with Cajun Craze. I have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Cajun Craze that I've already embossed with the brick and mortar embossing folder. So it has kind of a terracotta brick feel to it. We'll add that to the front. Again, I have another little piece here of the copper colored foil, the Splendid Day. This one is 1 1/2 by 4. Again, that's going to go right near the bottom. Kind of have a thing going with just strips that go across the bottom or the side. Then we're going to set a pot, just like we have for the other few cards. I have one of these die cut with Sahara sand, and we're going to use the final sentiment here in Soft Succulent. What did I do with it? Let's just use Memento. It'll look good with Memento with that. So this is Today is a Day to Remember. Again, it fits right in there. Just like the past card, we're going to fill that pot up. So I'm going to do the dimensionals again, one on either side. And we'll put that right here. So I'm putting that, that Today is a Day is kind of sitting on top of the Designer Series paper, and the other line, the next line, is sitting kind of on the foil. So if you line it up that way. Okay, next up, I'm just going to show you the parts that I have here because I've already done them. I have Soft Succulent. I stamped that image in Memento black and then die cut it. I have Soft Seafoam, stamped the image in Memento black, die cut it. I also have Soft Seafoam, a couple little pieces here that we haven't used yet, and we're going to put those all together in a cute little collage. So we'll start with this little one here. Little dot, dot, dot. Don't need a lot of glue. This one's going to stick kind of out of the top, so up here. Hold that in place. Then we're going to just do some pop-ups with the dimensionals. So I'm gonna have to get those mini dimensionals out again. Those seem to work the best with all these different leaves hanging out. All right, that should do it. Now, let's do, whoops, let me make sure these are nice and attached. Sometimes you go to peel the backing off and they're so small, if they're not attached, they're gonna come right off. So push them on there, then pull your backings off. Whoops. That's a little harder to get the backings off of those little ones. All right, so I have this one. It's gonna kind of go in this direction. Like so. This one, oops, I'm having the same issue where you gotta push them on just a little bit. Make sure they're nice and attached, then pull the backing off. All right, and then this one's gonna stick over here. And I just realized I'm gonna do some overlapping there, which I didn't figure in. So I'm gonna take the backing off of those. So stick that under, get the backing out of there. There we go. So if you have any overlap, you'll make sure to not use dimensionals over that part. So just a few dimensionals over here, and any low overlap is going to be just with seal or nothing. And then you have one more little piece here, a little tiny bit of glue, and that's just going to stick to the side here. And I have this overlapping so it's sticking up like from the dimensional, but it's stuck to the back. So it gives it a little more dimension that it's kind of coming out of there. We'll finish up with a piece of the soft succulent open weave ribbon. I'm going to tie that clear, or whoops, not around the whole card, just the card front. And then tie that in a double knot like we've been doing. Double knot and trim. And then I'm going to line that up with the foil. You could have it anywhere, but I kind of liked how it looked there with the foil. Again, we're going to get those iridescent rhinestones out. It even looks awesome with the Cajun craze, so I love that. So we'll put a few on here. It just picks up every color so nicely. So here is our final card. A little bit different than the other ones, dark. And then as the Too Cool version, I wanted to also do something that was a little darker and different. I don't know, this one's pretty crazy. It's all colors I like, but it's pretty bold. So this is in the Orchid Oasis for the background, Tahitian Tide, Fresh Freesia, and then some Highland Heather for the die cuts for the backdrop. I used the Sahara Sand, the Fresh Freesia for the foil, and then the Fresh Freesia open weave ribbon. Again, those iridescent rhinestones, they match everything. I love that. So I don't know about this. Is it kind of too bright? What do you think? Let me know. So this, you'll get all the parts and pieces for this one in your kit. Let's get everything out of the way here and show you once again everything that you're going to get. So you'll get all of these in your kit. So you'll have all the parts and pieces to make all of these cards. Remember, if it's something that's stamped and then die cut, I only include the paper to stamp on because I don't want you to have to stamp on a die cut. But anything that's intricately die cut, those will all be done for you. I even tie bows for you. You'll get all the ribbon, you'll get all the iridescent rhinestones that you need, and again, all the parts, all the embossed parts, anything that's cut, and that'll be all ready to go. To get your free card kit, remember to use that host code. You'll go to toocoolstamping.com, click on the Shop Now link. You'll place at least a minimum of $40 for your order and use that host code CQGCPQ64. You'll find it on the checkout page right above the price column. You'll see that right on the top. I know if in the past, if you've forgotten, I used to be able to call Stampin' Up! And get that added. I can no longer do that for you. So it doesn't mean you can't get your free kit if you forget, but if you do, I will have to let you know that you'll need to talk to them yourself. You'll have to call Stampin' Up! Yourself and get that added by the deadline. Now the deadline to place an order for this particular class is November 3rd, and I'll get that class out in the mail by November 9th. So place your orders between now and November 3rd, $40 minimum. Use that host code. Don't forget. Oh, one caveat to that is if you place a $150 order, that is an order that does qualify you to earn Stampin' Rewards. Do not use a host code in order to get your Stampin' Rewards. If you use a host code, you don't earn those from me. But if you have an order that's $150 or more, I will automatically send you a kit. So no worries about that. You will get your kit and without the host code, but I want you to be able to get your Stampin' Reward Dollars. You earn 10% back on your order for anything above $150 or $150 or above. So, but one thing I will say, if you're going to spend that much money, you need to get that starter kit special because it's $100. It's not even $100. It's $99 plus tax, free shipping, and you'll get to select $155 worth of product. So you actually have a much better deal if you get that starter kit special, plus you'll have a discount on all your future orders. Again, if you want to know more about that special, it only lasts through the end of October. Just message me and I will get back to you and we can chat about it. There's so many fun things that happen behind the scenes, special perks for being a part of the Stampin' Up! Family, for being a part of my Too Cool team. You can go to my toocoolstamping.com website and see the benefits for joining my team link and see what all you can get for being a part of my team. But I would love to have you join. Remember, I love hobbyists. You don't have to sell. There's no obligation to sell to other people. You can just enjoy the discount, just like Costco, and just buy all your stamping products at a cheaper price. So that's a fun thing to do. It's a great time to do it with that special going on. All right, everybody, let's wrap it up. Thank you so very much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you came and caught me live, I'm so glad that you're here. And thank you so much if you're watching the replay. I'd love to have you get one of those free kits. So check it out, place an order, use that host code, and I'll get that in the mail to you. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, this is Angie with TooCoolStamping.com. Bye-bye.